2023 calendar year. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 11:02, and would you please call the roll?
Commissioners Rahman,
Present.
Long,
Here.
Howell. It's running a little bit late. Cavell,
Here.
Smith Charles,
Present.
Wipert,
I'm here.
Hoffman,
Present.
Marco.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I want to welcome all our new members to the Finance Committee.
Yes.
All right. At this time, would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up, I have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting on December 7th.
Because I was here.
Motion by Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Charles. All those in favor of approving the agenda, can we just say aye, or do we need a roll call vote?
You can do a prompt to vote if you want.
Okay, let's prompt the vote on approving the minutes.
Charles, did you get one?
Yes, I pushed A.
Okay, got it. Okay, Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next up, we have the approval of today's agenda. I need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Cavell, supported by Commissioner Rahman. Any changes or adjustments? Okay, let's prompt the vote on the agenda then.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent. Okay, today's agenda is approved. Next up, we have public comment. That's for anybody here who would like to address us regarding anything on the agenda. However, I will say if you're here for one of those items and planning to speak, you can wait till your item comes up, but anybody can speak in public comment that wishes to. So, anybody here from the public? All right, with that, I'll close public comment, and we will move on to our recommendations, starting with item 7A, to waive the interest and fees for qualifying taxpayers from March 1st, 2023 to April 30th, 2023. Are these receive and files? Or no, these are resolutions, yes. So moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello again. Some of you I saw this morning at the other committee. So this is a pretty easy one. We've done this. We come to you every year, and actually maybe we'll ask to change that so it doesn't have to be done every single year. But under the General Property Tax Act, so every March 1st, people that don't pay their taxes to their local community, those unpaid taxes come over to us to collect. We do settlement with the local communities and cash flow them, and we become the collections agent, if you will. Included are the summer tax deferments that are approved by local government for a select group of individuals, seniors, veterans, and disabled members of our community who are on fixed incomes and require their income tax return to pay their previous year's taxes. So a lot of you are probably familiar with this because, again, we have to do this every year. So it requests 2 months, so March and April, to continue to defer their taxes and waive the fees and the 1% monthly interest that is added, and that's per the General Property Tax Act. So we don't have a choice in that. And so we're that's why we're here today. You have the resolution in front of you. The,
Our stuff isn't opening
We
up.
don't,
None of
it won't
us, we don't
open up.
have it.
Okay.
I am familiar with it.
I don't
for all
need
the
to,
years
well,
it's the same.
I could read it to all of you, but you probably don't want that.
don't.
Yeah, you've probably already
Oh,
seen
we're all
this.
having like IT issues, so funny that we
Yeah.
just talked about broadband, huh?
So, and this
We
is
need it at the
something,
county.
this is something that we promote in our office too when we have those taxpayer assistance meetings, when we're talking to people.
Yeah.
And just as an FYI, I mean, the number is really low. Just looking at the dollar amount that was waived in, last year, so we're looking at 2021, when it rolled over last year, that's $770
Oh, wow.
for March.
Wow.
And by April, it was $9,100. So we're talking about a really low amount, but this helps people, that are seniors, veterans, disabled, and it doesn't, they're still paying their taxes, right? But it's just this deferment. So, we've never had any issues in the past, and again, we're trying to notify everyone that might be eligible for this. So, I guess the only question is if we would want to, the only change that we would, obviously it's up to you to make that decision. I know in other counties, they actually do this so it's in perpetuity. So this is just standard, so we don't have to pass a resolution every time. That's up to you if anyone would want to amend it to say that. But if
Otherwise, we're
not,
happy to come see you. That's
otherwise,
something
yes.
so easy every
Yes,
year.
we're happy to see you if that's, the prerogative of the committee. But other than that, that's, pretty straightforward.
Commissioner Hoffman, followed by Commissioner Cavell.
I don't have a problem with that suggestion, because you have a criteria that they must meet.
Yep.
And I think it maybe give us a report or something,
Sure.
and attest the fact that they follow the criteria.
Yep.
Yeah, and these are approved by the local treasurers. We don't do any of the approval process. It's solely just whether or not we
Oh.
charge them those
Yeah.
2 months of
Right,
interest.
so we have, I don't have any problem, I didn't make the motion, I think I supported it, but if somebody wanted to do that, I'd support that too, but.
Appreciate
I have
that.
a couple more questions after that.
Okay. Do we want to amend the motion to say that going forward, this should be just a receive and file report, or do we want to?
I like Robert and Jody. He said we'll come every quarter, give us update on how they're planning.
We can find other reasons to bring
Yeah,
it.
we're happy. We actually do see you quite often.
I would like to make a motion to pass this, but, or make it so that we don't have to do this every year, and that we can just receive and file as a communication from their office at the relevant committee meeting.
Can we amend our original motion to say that?
Yes.
Or do we need
This
two
can be an
motions?
amendment to the, yeah, it'll be two motions. This will be the amendment to the initial motion
Okay.
to recommend
I
board.
support it.
Charlie
So, let me just,
moved it. Commissioner Hoffman supported the amendment.
I'd like to speak to the amendment.
Mhm. Commissioner Charles?
Thank you. So the idea that we wouldn't need this report provided, with the whole presentation piece, but it still sounds like we have actions to take to say yay or nay to waive those interest and fees. Am I missing something?
I think that's the amendment, is to not have to pass the resolution again each year. So it'd be perpetuity, that this is a standing resolution, that is, that you don't have to revisit year to year. So that's what the amendment.
yeah, what I
That's what I
have,
mean.
going forward, this can be sent as a report to finance to receive and file. Is that sufficient?
Yes.
No problem.
Yes. Commissioner Hoffman?
And that would not preclude us from changing it down the road if we want to, we still have that authority, so.
Right, 'cause it's gonna come up.
Until we change it.
Because it's still gonna come up in front of you, but it's not something you're gonna have to take action on.
Just this would come up. Does anyone else that's coming up?
Cool.
Did you
Okay.
on your phone?
I just went on my phone.
So if everybody understands, let's go ahead and prompt the vote on the amendment.
Weird. Our computers are weird.
Back up and running?
No.
No, okay.
We can
Really
vote, but
trust
we
you
can't
guys.
read it.
Yeah.
White screen, they probably like us better that way.
It's our Russians.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carried.
Motion carries, and then we're going to vote on the main motion. So let's prompt the vote on the main motion.
The main motion as amended.
But if you guys are able to vote.
Yeah, it's on your phone too, if you.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, I'm pull up on my phone.
So it's only just not coming up on these?
Yeah.
Ours isn't coming up either.
That's weird, because mine came up the last meeting, all of them.
We can,
I had one
I
that
can vote,
didn't
though.
at the end of the meeting.
we can pass it around.
The
if anyone
Democrats
wants to
have been
look at
seeing it, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's a one-pager.
Yeah, that's why he's standing over
That's
there.
right.
Nice try.
Madam Chair, you have 7
the-
yeas, 0 nays?
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and we will come
Commissioner
visit you
Hoffman.
often, I promise.
We like seeing
I'm
you.
just saying that.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yeah,
Oh, you're here. Yeah,
Yep.
well,
Are they way down?
Okay, thank you. I will.
Last year,
so we haven't got to that point yet, right? So March 31st is the deadline for people to pay or get on a repayment schedule with us. But the numbers that come, that are subject to foreclosure are lower right now than they were last year. So I can tell you that, but we won't know the final number until the end of March. But, and I'm gonna come talk to the caucuses about the work that we're doing, like we did last year, but obviously there's new members. But we have, a really extensive outreach program that we're doing to make sure people know to reach out to us, right? Like, as we've said this many times and we'll continue to say it, right? Our goal is not to foreclose on properties, right? We want people and businesses, we want them to continue to own and live and work in these facilities or in their houses. But we need to have a conversation with them, right? So if we don't know and we never hear from them, we can't help them. So we do a really proactive outreach so that people know. But the first step is just to call. We want people to call. And I actually had a conversation yesterday with a reporter with the Oakland Press and said, the bottom line, right? We had an interview, talked about everything. And she said, like, well, what's the number one thing you want to convey to people? And we said, is that we're here to help. Just, you have to call, you have to reach out to us. And so that's something I would encourage all of you in your communities. And we did this last year, and we can do it again anytime you want. If you want a list of those parcels that are subject to foreclosure, so that you can, I know Commissioner Hoffman will go knock on their door directly. So anyone else that wants to do that, we would partner with you to do that. But, we're really trying to reach out to people to make sure that people save their properties.
also, this leads to another question then. Where do we stand with the people that their equity was taken? I know there've been meetings. I'd like to a report on that. And because I just want to know where it stands, how much we've given people back, what % of their equity did we give back? Who do I get a report from for that?
So, Bob, I can tell you that Wayne County just appealed to our settlement last week, 2 weeks ago maybe.
They just did what?
Appealed. Wayne County just appealed to the settlement of paying out equity to the claims,
Surplus for
The-
the Raffaele?
Yeah, the Raffaele case for 2009 to 2019, the class.
The class.
That was set for those dates. So we're on hold for the moment, pending a federal judge reviewing that appeal, or
I hope that
that
appeal
challenge.
fails.
We do too, and the appeal has failed previously, so we think the judge is gonna shut it down. The claims period is open until March 1st. So
So that's-
people can continue to file claims until March 1st. We're hoping that motion will be heard by March 1st, and we can start paying out during the month of March.
Okay, how about the report, the people we've already paid out to? Can I get the amounts we paid and the quantity of people?
I don't know that we've paid out to anybody
But I
yet.
think that was closed session.
There have been
also.
some separate settlements.
Wait.
Oh.
if
Right, but
you're
that's
on-
what's been
you're
in
on the
closed
finance
session.
committee?
Yeah.
And you know what they are?
Well,
I'm
we
on
had
the
closed,
finance
se-
committee.
It was
I
a
know, but it
closed
was
session.
closed session
Well,
last
I
year.
know, they threw me out of one of them. 'Cause-
I know, that's why I'm telling you, it was closed session.
Okay,
Well,
how
you're
do you
gonna
feel?
be fun to have on finance, I can see.
Well,
Your
we're
chair's gonna
talking
be in the
about
hall.
people's equity.
Right, no, you're right.
And
We
I'd
want to
like
make
to
sure they get their
report on what
equity back.
percent we
think
paid
they
these
have to.
people, how many people we paid, and how many people are left in the class.
We'll follow up with you offline,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
in the
Well,
interest
as
of time for
Corporation
people that are
Counsel,
here.
we
Yeah,
can share.
Corporation
Yeah.
Counsel, we'll talk to them and see what we can share.
All right.
But, the actual class, this is public, right? I mean, this is public
Yeah.
information.
The
Right.
class,
And
yeah,
so
class.
that's what we're hoping. I mean, we have the Kyle's here and he can talk about this as well, but that we have the money and it's waiting just for the class to be signed off on and for us to start sending payments to these people.
And then secondarily, foreclosures from last year follow a different process for
Right.
more urgent. And so those will get heard starting February 1st by a circuit court judge to be paid out for the people that filed claims last year.
Okay, thank you guys
Yeah.
very much for what you do.
Yeah, of course. We're always here to help.
I know.
Yeah. Thank you. And then, welcome Commissioner Rahman, the newest commissioner. I feel like, we know all of you and worked with all of you, but excited to have you as a part of the team as well.
Thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. Yes, Commissioner.
I just wanted to say, as a workaround for us, we can go to oakgov.com
Yes.
/BOC and just use the meeting resources there, and those do seem to load
They're
just
printing
fine.
it too.
Please don't print anything for me.
You got it, okay.
Good, thank you. So did y'all
Yeah,
catch
get it on
that? If you
phone.
just want to
Going
go to the
yeah.
oakgov.com,
Board of Commissioners,
BOC,
yep.
what,
Resource.
meeting resources,
Yep.
Finance Committee packet,
I am in there.
right? Okay.
Exactly.
I think we'll still be able to use our tablets to vote.
Yes, I was
Yes,
able to vote.
Yes.
Yeah, and so the last vote was 8 yeas, 0 nays. Commissioner Powell has arrived, so I made sure
Okay.
that she was.
Motion carries on the waive interest and fees for qualifying taxpayers from March 1st to April 30th.
Yep.
All right. Next up on our agenda is the Webster School Project with Micah 6 Community. I need a motion. Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Weipert. We have before us Coleman Yocum, who is the Executive Director of the Webster Community Center. And welcome, Mr. Yocum, and please introduce whoever you want to us, and then tell us about your project and where we're going to go from here.
Hello, everyone. Congratulations for everybody who just won election or maybe was reelected. I know if your organization is anything like mine, finance is the committee everyone fights for. So, so thanks for being here. My name is.
Why? Yeah.
Did it hit you later? Is that a good text? My name is Coleman Yocum. I'm the executive director at Micah 6 Community. We are a small but quickly growing community development organization working on the west side of Pontiac. We've been there for 10 years. I have a number of teammates around the room, Katie, Dylan, Catherine, a number of neighbors who have joined us as well. Madonna Van Fossen, one of my board members. Belinda Paul is Belinda's a neighbor. Paul is our architect. So a lot of people in the room who know a lot about this project and who are probably also looking forward to saying their piece about it. Just to give you a little bit of background, we purchased this building in 2017. So Webster Elementary School is a large elementary school here in Pontiac. You probably drive past it all the time. It's on M59. It is a frontage property right on that busy corridor. 53,000 square feet, 26 classrooms. It was built in 1920, closed in 2006, and it's sat empty since then. We acquired the building in 2017. We knew we wanted to build a community center. Pontiac used to have 6 community centers, and now it has 0. And this is something that comes up all the time in the Parks and Rec Master Plan, in the Land Use Plan, in the City Moving Forward Plan. It is a perennial issue that comes up over and over and again, that the city needs more community centers. And it doesn't need just one, but we were willing to jump in and try and be the first. We surveyed our neighborhood. So we purchased the building. We spent a year talking to our neighbors, asking, what do you want to see in a community center? Community center is a pretty ambiguous thing. Like, does that mean what sort of services, whatever? We interviewed 224 people from our census tract. That's people within walking distance of this building. And we asked all the questions. How much do we care about the building? If we knock down the building and build something new, do we care? If we change the name, if we do, what sort of services, what sort of tenants? Asked a lot of these questions. 224 people responded to that survey, and the 4 main focus areas that people wanted to see were arts and culture, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, and youth activities. One of the highest, checkmark things on our long list of surveys was kids need a place to play basketball in the winter. That, in the summer you can roll a goal out to the street, but in the winter when everything's ice, what are our kids doing? And so That was one of the most popular responses that we got. So we took those and we went out and we talked to organizations and we talked to tenants and we talked to service providers and we said, hey, if we renovate this building, would you want to move in and be a tenant? And so right away, we had a number of organizations that jumped in and said, yes, we're really excited about this. And a lot of their logos and a lot of their names are up on the screen right now. A lot of them are organizations that also serve your districts, that also serve the communities that y'all reside in. OLSA wants to put in 6 Head Start classrooms. Honor Community Health is going to put in a walk-in clinic in that neighborhood. The Art Experience does art therapy, and they're going to be moving their programs in there. The Pontiac Community Foundation is opening a small business incubator in this space, not focusing on becoming something like Tech Town or Pony Ride or Green Garage, but really working with people in that community who want to get a little something going that maybe they've been running for a long time as a side hustle, like a lawn business or a small food business. There's a large kitchen in that building that we're going to turn into a small business incubator kitchen. And so these sorts of things. So Pontiac Community Foundation walking alongside of them to help them sort of develop their businesses. PAL is going to be putting in their offices there and then running basketball, volleyball, and martial arts out of this building. A lot of programs. Rochester University wants to put in a distance learning lab. So somebody in Pontiac can come to that building at night with a cohort and work on an associate's degree. And then sort of move on to something after that, but do it as a cohort at night. Pontiac Theater 4 is Pontiac's oldest running community theater group, and they've never had a home. They've been working out of churches. They've been working out of other weird spaces that have stages, and stages are a premium in Pontiac. It's hard to find stage space for organizations to run their programs. There is an auditorium in this building. So that's sort of the tenant, that's the tenant makeup, and we have letters of commitment from all these organizations. 100% of our space is committed. We know who's going into every room, and our architect firm has sat down with all those tenants to talk about the build out for their room. We know who's coming. We're really excited about that. So we are here to talk about ARPA funds, which I accidentally called ARAP. I wrote this at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, we're talking about an allocation of ARPA funds from the county to really put us over the top. So a number of, you know, if you looked at the requirements, and I'm sure that you all have, as you are the Finance Committee, there's a long list of things that qualify for ARPA funds. So things like sites that are going to do COVID tests and vaccines, medical facilities, spaces for nonprofits and small businesses, particularly in low-income and struggling communities, spaces that mitigate food insecurity. We're putting a small grocery store in this building. There's already 3 greenhouses on the playground that we've been managing for a number of years. We grow 6,000 pounds of food on the playground at this building right now. Sprout Fresh Food Store is our small vegetable store a couple blocks away. It's going to move in and expand to become a small grocery. We've seen our neighborhood, since we've started our work, start trending down in terms of its food scarcity. Putting in a grocery store in this building, even a small one, will take this building off the food desert list, or this neighborhood off the food desert list completely, which we're really excited about. Improvements to transportation infrastructure. Starting from the hospital moving west in Pontiac on M59, there are no covered bus stops. My neighbors get pneumonia standing outside in November and December and February and March waiting for buses that may or may not be coming, might have already come, might be running late. My neighbors get sick. And so we're putting in an indoor bus is about to arrive, walk out and jump on the bus. Child care and daycare, 6 Head Start classrooms coming into this building, as well as a WIC office, all managed by OLSA. Workforce training, that's the Pontiac Community Foundation portion, working on people who are starting small businesses. Parks and green spaces, so we have a 6-acre lawn. We've got a garden in the back already. There are a number of outdoor facilities and playgrounds that are going to be coming as part of this development. Anything that decreases disparities in public health. Rehabilitation of vacant spaces in urban communities. You know, in terms of all these different things that ARPA funds can be used for, we do all those. Here's the funding piece. This is a $25 million renovation. It's a big building. It's a big building that's sat empty and vacant for a long time. We have been working really hard we spent that year asking our neighbors what we want. Then we sort of took that dream and we said, is this feasible? We spent a year running a feasibility study on this, finding out what are rents, where are we going to be able to set rents? Are our organizations going to be able to afford that? We have found a number that everybody agrees to, everybody's happy with. And so we have all that figured out. This building will support itself once it's built. This is not something where I'll keep coming back over and over again, asking for funding to support this building and operations and all that stuff. We just need to get it built, and then it supports itself. This is a breakdown of some of our funding sources. New market and historical tax credits commitments are in hand. We've raised a couple $1 million already from private sources. That's in hand. Moving down here, some tenants are contributing to their spaces. That money is already committed. The last piece, and so you'll see MEDC loan and MEDC wrap grant. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation issues their letter of intent tomorrow. And I really tried to have that for this meeting, but they say, oh, we drop them on Thursdays. So their letter is coming out tomorrow for their portion, which is $9 million. The part that we are talking about today is the last $5 million. And we just need that. If we have that, we can wrap it up and be done today. There are two organizations, so if you'll see the gap up here, sort of about halfway down, we have two foundations who are waiting on how this meeting goes and how next Thursday's meeting goes to jump in and finish that last $800,000. But what we're talking about is this last $5 million. This is not a project that was created when we found out that ARPA funds exist. This is something we were already working on. This is not something that stops helping when the money runs out. This building will be here for 100 years, and we hope we'll be serving people for another 100 years, beyond me. This isn't a food program that when the funding runs out, it also shuts down. The funding we need is just this last shot in the arm to get us over the finish line, to get this building built. Where we are today, our architectural drawings and bid documents are out. We just had a contractors meeting this past Friday targeting, in particular, minority-owned contractors. Get them in. Let them see the bid documents. We really want to hire local businesses and minority-owned businesses to be the contractors on this project. We had about 40 contractors that were at that event. Lazarus was one of those contractors. He was there for that event. We're excited. 100% of our tenants are ARPA-aligned tenants. They're going to be providing services that these funds are meant to fund, which is really exciting. Our environmental work and remediation is almost finished. So they just punched a hole in the parking lot this week so that we can get some junk out of the basement. The building has been listed on the National Historic Registry. We are on the Historic Registry. That took about a year to do, and that's where our historical tax credits are coming from getting that building listed. Because of that, we have to adhere to a number of items that the Department of Interior wants us to do, and renovations that we have to do to that building, but they are funding a lot of those renovations, which is great. We are ready to break ground April 10th. This building will open August of 23, or 24 rather. And our tenants are ready to move in. We have a real push to make to get them in by then, because Head Start needs to be in August in order to start helping kids on September 1st. So that's our goal, and that's the timeline that we're holding to for project completion. Benefits of this project: Pontiac has a community center. We expect to serve 16,000 people through 200,000 visits. So a lot of those are going to be repeat people, kids showing up every day for Head Start, things like that. But 200,000 visits to that building. A vacant building on a busy corridor is turned into a childhood education center with a health clinic, grocery store, bus terminal, arts hub, small business support space, and community gathering. The building is an iconic building on Huron. Everybody drives past it, and it is the first iconic building you drive on if you are coming west on M59. You pass it and you go, what a sad, large building. It could be really beautiful. This means a lot for the corridor. There was an MSU study done of the corridor a couple of months ago that said that this is going to be a vital piece of the sort of the reinvigoration of that M59 corridor across Pontiac. It has economic development implications as well as community implications. This project's going to inspire other projects. There are a number of vacant apartment buildings within a couple blocks of this building that families are going to want to live in once the project is done. If you could live 2 blocks from a community center, that's a big deal. That's really exciting. Means a lot for our neighbors and our neighborhood kids. Our neighborhood becomes more resilient. COVID especially showed us how important this project is for neighborhoods like ours. That our neighborhood would have fared a lot better had we had a health clinic close had we had outreach close, had we had food programs close. I mean, Sprout and our organization handed out 16,000 bags of free produce through the pandemic, but to have a hub where we could have organized that and done that a lot better and a lot more succinctly would have been a big deal for our neighborhood. We are a pretty high impacted census tract, and something like this would have really helped. And that's the point of these funds. That's what it's for. So that's what we're asking for. We've asked for $5 million, and that would finish the project. Much less, we got to start cutting off some pretty important limbs and appendages for this thing. But we're willing to have that conversation. Have a number of neighbors here as well. Is this the time that they can speak about this project as well?
Sure, and then we'll open it up to questions. So if anybody wants to join Mr. Yocum down at the end of the table and pull the microphone up real close.
Sure.
Any chair. Just tell us your name and,
My name is Venicia Kelly. Can y'all hear me? I'm a little
Yes.
nervous. I have been in Pontiac for like 5 years, especially around Mr. Yocum and Micah 6. This would really help and benefit a lot of single parents, people without cars. I have 8 children, and it was very, very hard trying to find resources. Got a lot of rides from them and their individuals that help. So I'm pushing for this, and I'm pretty sure a lot more people is pushing. That's all I have to say.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
They're all on.
Just pull the microphone up close, please.
Right there?
Yeah, that's great.
I'm Belinda Grata. Like I say, I lived in the neighborhood for a very long time. My kids they literally had no place to go play basketball, especially in the winter. They really didn't have that much great, like, after-school programs or anything like that that they can go to. So they didn't end up graduating high school, none of them. I believe that when they bring this to the neighborhood, it'll help my grandkids. Because I know for a fact if they have someplace to go, someplace to read, somebody to help them. I'm not that great with sounds, vowels, and any of that. But if somebody else can come to their neighborhood and help them learn how to read, I already know my future will be okay with them, you know? But I don't have nowhere else. And they've helped me out. They helped me out with rides. They've helped me out with food. It's been a hard year. It's been hard. But we need this community center. We need this so that our kids in our neighborhood can know how to read, can know how to do certain things that somebody else has to come in and teach them, because some people don't really know. And if your parents don't teach you, somebody has to. You know, and I know it kind of sounds, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, I'm really nervous. But it's like, if you don't have a community center there, because your kids are going to get into something. Idle hands are the devil's projects, right? So if you don't have someplace to go, have them play basketball, have them, you know, do soccer, have them do kickboxing, whatever it is that they're going to do, then they're going to get in trouble. Those are the ones who are going to go to jail. Those are the ones who are going to get shot. Those are the ones who are not going to get educated. And they're the ones who are going to be in the same pay rate as everybody else, which is practically nothing and just barely making it. You know, I want my grandkids to be better than what I was, because that's what you go for. You want your grandkids to always be, even your kids, especially your kids, but you want them to get better each time. So this community center, I'm pushing for it. You know, I know my grandkid didn't even know how to really read, and he's already 8. So, and I can't help with vowels because I think it sounds like this, but it's not that. So I know I'm messing him up, but Micah 6 has told me, you know, they go to tutoring over there. And so then they're like, oh no. And he'll come to me like, no, Grandma, you were wrong. Well, I'm sorry. His Spanish is different, okay? So they've been helping them. So they got, Bernardino got a little award saying he learned this in this vowels and he learned this in this sound. So, you know, it's going better for him. And Catalina, she has tonic seizures and epileptic. So her sound's already messed up. I'm like, please don't let me teach her that one. So they've helped me with that, you know, which she's getting better at it, you know. And this is going to help out. You know, I really think it's great. And buy food there, you know, no pesticides. So it's really good. This is a great project, and I really want this project to be here because it's literally right across the street. Like, you can go and it can be safe. And then I can, get a job, and then I don't have to worry about daycare. Because daycare is the hardest thing because there's nobody who wants to take care of a child who's epileptic and tonic seizure. Nobody wants to. I don't care who you are. A daycare, they'll look at you like you're a liability. They don't want to because Catalina can be fine 1 minute and then later just start seizing up. And then the school freaked out. The school didn't know what to do. People were just like, they called the ambulance, but it's not the same. Nobody wants to. So it's hard for certain parents with kids who have disabilities. It's hard. And I don't want him or her to not to graduate. It doesn't make sense. So that means that which I had an epiphany before I asked him. I asked him, I said, look, I think I just had an epiphany. My grandkids are not going to graduate because I don't know the sounds. And I can't even help them with homework anyways because I can't. There's nothing I can do that can help them with homework because I don't even know. I can help you with times tables and division. And even division is very hard. But past that, I can't. And I won't get there unless somebody helps me. And I don't want my grandkids to drop out. I don't want them. I try very hard for them to learn something, but it's hard when you can't get there because my car tries to kill you on the road. It throttles on its own and wants to take off. So I just kind of mentioned to Coleman that don't stand in front of my car because it tries to take off. But
Well, Belinda, I want to stop you here
I'm
just
sorry.
because we have a lot of other
no problem.
business to do, but I think it's fair to say that you represent a lot of people just like yourself in your own neighborhood, and it's really important that you came here and told us what it's like living in Pontiac without a lot of services right now, and I appreciate that you're here. And thank you for coming and speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more and
Got
then
one more?
we can move on.
Okay.
Man,
Yeah, please,
I'll be quick.
yeah.
It's a large table. Look how the food sit on this baby.
Just make sure you're speaking into the microphone.
Okay.
Our tech people are picky.
All right. My name is Lazarus, everybody. I know it's easy to cry, with something of this nature and this stature is going down here in the community. It's very inspiring to me personally, just because meeting him has been very wonderful for my business and my company. Because there's times that it is hard to even establish a business here because, just on the verge of people is not really in tune with hiring minority companies here in the city of Pontiac as though as they should. But even when I don't believe that he even knew about the struggle that my company was actually being in, where he'll call and say, hey, I got a project for you, I have another project for you, and it always has been a blessing and tremendous that he has established that relationship with me. And I know the school will impact this community because it was a school back in the day that I had to run to for safety, being taken away from foster care, and I didn't want anyone to take me or my family, so I called my brothers and I told them, let's all meet at Webster School. And they were like, where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go? I said, let's just go to my classroom. So that morning we ran to my classroom, but we couldn't be defeated, so they took us out of that school. So from that point on, years went by, foster care went by, and to come back and see it condemned was really like a passionate thing. I was like, wow, that's a school of safety. That's a school of light. And you always ride past it no matter what, just to get that memory of a brick being in safety. So what initially happened, I went to school, graduated, became a certified licensed electrician here, and once that happened, I was even able to go down to a networking event that he hosted just this past Friday to say, hey, we are inviting you out to actually be a bidder on this project, and it just brought tears to my eyes. That's why I said it's easier to cry up here, because it's a reflection of Pontiac, and it's very historic to me, and I believe to others, because me even having a small child that's 1 year old, I can actually show him that this is where your dad was, in the elementary school that I actually went to for safety, and I know when you go here, you will be safe too. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the commission for questions. I think Mr. Hoffman was first, followed by Commissioner Long, followed by Commissioner Powell.
Sure. And Katie, do you mind passing around packets? Sorry, there is a packet of information that I brought as well. Katie will pass that around. Yes, sorry.
That's all right, thank you very much, great project, I'm glad you're saving an old building, I hate tearing that stuff down.
I do too.
That's what I do for a living. Anyway, who's gonna benefit from the historic tax credit? Will the bank, are they the ones gonna get the credit? Is the PNC Bank?
So the National Trust is the one who issues those credits, and
Right.
they are all being purchased by PNC Bank.
Okay. Secondly, how much is Pontiac contributing to this project, the city of Pontiac?
So we went to them about 9 months ago for a tax abatement, and they gave us a 12-year abatement on this project.
What's that worth?
So it's over the course of the 12 years, about $244,000.
Oh, okay, and our resolution says you're asking for $2 million, and you keep speaking of $5 million.
There was an early conversation and an early version of the agenda that said 5, and it got changed to 2.
And I can speak to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna fight for 5, but she gonna give us that.
Okay, nice project, though.
Thank you.
I think it'll really benefit
Some of mine.
the Pontiac.
Okay. Next up, Commissioner Long.
Thank you, and I'm glad to see school repurposed. It's a nice school too, and I think the county in general is going to have to start to think what to do with these schools too as the birth rate goes down. So this is a good project, and we're gonna have a lot of empty schools pretty soon. But I wondered, I don't know, you might have said this in your presentation, are the tenants going to pay rent?
Yes, they're
Okay.
all rent paying. It'll be 14 a square foot plus $3 common area maintenance.
Okay, so that will be some of your income coming back. And then I wondered on the, it sounds like you're kind of almost to the end of the project now. Was the infrastructure, where did that money come from? Like for your, was there a lot of damage to the infrastructure? I know there's boards on the windows and stuff, but was there water damage and everything inside or no?
Sure, so we are at the end.
Okay.
And we did not want to come to this board and to the commissioners until we knew we absolutely needed it and until we were at the very end. So
Okay.
that is why we are here now.
So all infrastructure has been fixed inside? You're
So
getting
it
toward-
is, the commission approved an Eagle Grant and Brownfield partnership a number of years ago, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. So we've done most of the remediation work inside at this point. We are doing the asbestos abatement and lead abatement
Okay,
pretty soon.
good.
Did some water work inside. And then, so we are in the last stages of putting together the capital for the interior renovations.
Okay, well, I think it's a great project, and I do believe the county as a whole is gonna have to look at a lot of other abandoned schools for these kind of projects, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. Commissioner Powell?
Questions I have is, with the contractors, were you partnering with any unions to come in and unionize to do the work for the work that's needed in contractor space?
Sure. So Mayor Grimal and Calfani organized very early a meeting with the Carpenters Union. And we we invited them to the project, a number of other union shops as well. And then Regina Campbell from, and I'm going to forget all of the abbreviations. Regina Campbell was definitely our point person to reach out and further into that community, and she invited a number of them, and a lot of them were at that meeting on Friday.
So we are having discussions with that?
Yes.
Okay, now, second question is, we have private groups that neighbors around that area.
Mhm.
Because this is becoming a community center, is that gonna impact our off-address public places, which is in that facility? Is this gonna be a conflict, or has that not even been looked at? And do you know what I'm talking about?
I do not know what you're talking about.
We have a place that house and protect people.
Yes. They're
Or
very
is it an
excited.
issue?
They're very excited. They have said they've been trying to get. Are we not allowed to say their name?
No. you can't
Okay.
say nothing.
Okay. Certain.
No, Hoffman, you know what I'm talking
No,
about.
I
It's
know
like,
what
Sure.
y'all want to-
Certain organization, as part of their future programming, has really hoped to start a social entrepreneurship program for the people in their program, and they want to use that space as the home for that program, particularly the partnership with the Pontiac Community Foundation and the Small Business Incubator.
Okay, got it. Okay, and then I just wanted to tell my colleagues, I hope and pray that you all support this initiative. As you all know, and I always talk about all the issues we have in Pontiac, and we are trying to come to fruition of adding these type of centers in our community to give our residents something to do. And this will be the first one. I admired Mr. Yoakum and his vision, just moving to the city. It was a group of young men who wanted to tackle an area that has not been attentive to for years. And they have been doing all the community service work in this area, which is actually right across the street from our Indian village. However, this group has been doing all the resourceful work that is needed to help citizens in anything that they need help in. And I can vouch for that because I've leaned on him to help constituents over there. And this group has done a phenomenal job on the west side of Pontiac, just manning any needs over there. So, be it that this corporation, and I have been very involved with a lot of those players or partners that's planning to come. I think this is overall a robust, great idea. I am still working on the city a little bit to kind of maybe help some more. But we had more promising funding numbers as of 2 months, and I can't wait to hear what Gwen has to update us on. But me and Gwen has been working on this for a very long time. Gwen spearheaded it because she's born and raised from Pontiac. This was her elementary school, and we made it our business to make sure that we at least brought them before to get an ask and get some support from the county to help with this project. So, with that being said, I just pray that you all do support it, and just know, Yoakum, whatever you get from us, I am a team player to figure out the rest, okay? All right, so thank you for your time.
Appreciate that comment, Commissioner. Anybody else have anything they want to ask or, Commissioner Weipert?
So can you tell me more about Pontiac and the tax abatement instead of you being a nonprofit and being exempt?
Sure.
How did it get limited?
Okay, so this is a I don't know how
Was there any ARPA money from the city of Pontiac? They had $50 million.
Sure.
No, correction, 37.
37,
Down to
yes.
24 right now.
Yes.
Let me correct that, I worked there.
So a couple of things. We are a nonprofit, and we will own that building. When it comes to buildings, only the part of the building that is operated and or actually occupied by nonprofit organizations is tax exempt. So when we went to the assessor's office in a number of different locations, this was an old school building. So wide hallways. So of the 53,000 square feet, there's only about 26,000 square feet that's rentable. Most of those organizations that are going to be in that spaces are nonprofit organizations, so those spaces are exempt. But things like the gym, the hallways, and then the larger property that's sort of unoccupied community space is a taxable space. So it is. So it did come with a little bit of tax bill, and we sort of ran in a conversation with a lot of our tenants about we could push those expenses onto our tenants, move up rents to kind of cover that, or we could go for what's called an OPRA, an obsolete properties abatement. And so we did that. We went to the city, asked for an abatement. They offered, the administration offered 6 years, but county approved a full 12. You can only approve up to 12 years. So the value of that is $244,000, and that savings just contributes to the overall operating expenses of the building.
And what were the discussions on any ARPA functions?
So we have had early conversations with the city about it. They have issued a pretty robust plan for where all of their dollars are going, and they all seem pretty committed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavell.
Yeah, I have a couple questions, but before I get there, would you mind offering some clarification of why the 5 went down to 2, or just a little
Yes.
context?
So we're talking about ARPA dollars, and there are The county has somewhere between $75 and $80 million left of our full ARPA contingent, which is only about 25% of it. So between the administration and the board, there's been a lot of back and forth about how this money's going to get spent. We're looking at this project as kind of the last project of the original big chunk of ARPA dollars that we're putting out. And after all the back and forth and all the projects that we have looking at us and talking to Pontiac about, because they've come to the county for a big chunk of money for the rest of what they want to do, $2 million was what the executive felt that they could do right now. Back and forth. We originally talked about $5 million because that was what they needed to be finished. The county was more interested in about $1 million. So this is where we could agree to as of yesterday with the executive branch. And if any of you want to add any more detail to that, but that's kind of where the ball landed, was on $2 million. And so I got in touch with Coleman yesterday and gave him that news. And I mean, the way I'm looking at it is it's $2 million more moving you up. But like Commissioner Powell says, I'm willing to work with you. She's willing to work with you to try and find some other sources or help your other folks who still need to finish their commitment to, make it as robust as possible. Because I think everybody who sees this project knows that it's what we want to do. I don't think there's any real sense of, oh no, it's not good enough. It's that we don't have unlimited funds, and $2 million is where we felt we could land today. Now, thinking about this, when Coleman and I talked, he used as an example, if he had to pare back, he might not put up solar panels, which is a big chunk of money, and just go with the traditional utilities. However, a couple, 3 years from now, there are other granting opportunities that maybe they can come back and we can help them get to continue to make this sustainable long-term. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's how we ended up on the $2 million. I wish it were $5 million.
Sure.
Everybody I've talked to about it knows I wish it were $5 million. But I think $2 million is what we have today. So that's where we're going.
Okay.
Right
So
now.
thank you for that. So then I have kind of like a comment, then a question, so Commissioner Gershenson and I worked a lot with OLSHA on expanding access to childcare. This sounds like a really great way to do that. Commissioner Jackson and I have worked a lot on an arts council and how we could create something like that. This seems like a great opportunity for that. Leanne, yesterday in Public Health and Safety, talked to us about the need for food safety and food access, especially with the change in all the food stamp provisions that's going to come from the federal government. This sounds like a great way to have better access to food. We've talked about increasing the social determinants of health to make sure people are healthier. Honor Community Health would be here. We talk about Oakland 80. This is Rochester University. This is jobs programs. This sounds like it falls in line very clearly with the county executive's goals. And so it's just a statement. And then to you, I got a question. You said you have 2 foundations that you're going to talk to that are given $800,000?
We have 2 foundations who go, let us know how this meeting goes, and we'll be watching the meeting on the 26th. If those go well, we will finish that $800,000.
$400 each.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because here's the thought.
That is a conversation between, I don't know if it's 5 and 3.
Sure.
I don't know if it's 4 and 4.
Okay.
I can't speak to what they've decided
Okay.
between the 2 of them.
Because for the context you had about this being the last of the first tranche of ARPA, and Kyle, tell me where I get this wrong, but looking at the budget, we have $1.3 million in returned ARPA from the emergency department program where we gave $2 million to hospitals to do emergency department mental health. 700 was spent, 1.3 is sitting there returned from the first tranche. So if they can figure out how to fill the other 2.6, maybe we go up 1.3 to 3.3 total. And I'm just going to throw that out for chatting. We can talk offline more, or you can tell us more, Kyle, but
Yeah, when I talked to Executive Coulter last night, and then I'll turn it over to Kyle, He actually mentioned another project in Pontiac related to Pontiac General Hospital and mental health, which was a project that we are interested, the county is interested in pursuing. But it's not on the city of Pontiac's list for what they would like us to pair up ARPA dollars for. So it's a good example of another project that we want to do for all the right reasons. It's just not this one yet. So.
Good
Mr.
morning.
Jen
It's
will,
good to see all of you at the first meeting of the year. Kyle Jen, Director of Management and Budget. On the emergency room piece, I believe that full $2 million is obligated and will be spent. I think there was a lag in the invoicing and the payment, so I don't believe there's any excess funds there. I would just echo everything that Chairwoman Markham has said. This is a great project, obviously, and the county executive recognizes that, but we are also getting to the point where we're going to have to balance to zero on this $244 million. There are other priorities within Pontiac, other priorities across the county, so we thought that this figure, is a good landing spot on this project.
So then, if I
Okay, Commissioner Cavell, then Commissioner Powell for.
do you have any, just because you're mentioning that, and I appreciate that, part of the hesitancy here, the right, is we're on a pause for the ARPA. So when will we kind of have that meeting about unpausing and what the priorities are? Because without knowing what the priorities are from the executive, we're all on the same page, we all want to go in the same direction, but when we start talking about $2 million for this or $5 million for that, you start to, what are we choosing instead of? So when might we expect to know that?
So, we are working internally within the county executive office to build a plan for the remaining $80 million. We recognize we'll need to engage with, starting with the board leadership, and then, of course, all of you on that plan. We're in the final stages of our internal deliberations and would expect to have a plan to bring to the leadership at the beginning of next month.
Okay.
Oh, good. Good.
Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Hoffman.
I have a question about the taxes on this property taxes. Why would there be property taxes?
Because there is a
That's part of it.
significant amount of space in this building that is not occupied by a nonprofit entity. And so hallways, the large green space that this property sits on, a lot of, the gym and common area space that are revenue generating but are not occupied by a nonprofit organization. So it is something like, 48% of this building isn't technically leased by anyone, but it is in a building that's generating money from tenants, and so it becomes a taxable space.
Okay, so the gymnasiums are being rented by somebody, and they're going to be income producing for profit or to cover their costs?
So it will, the building is technically an LLC, but runs at a break even. It is an LLC because that's what we needed to qualify for new market tax credits.
Just seems to me the whole thing's for the benefit of the community, and I don't see that it should be taxable, in my humble opinion. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Charles had one more question, and then I think we'll.
Yeah, I'm good. Kyle addressed. I'm waiting on that report too.
Madam Chair, I feel like the conversation has been robust, and I'm thinking it's time to call for that vote.
That's exactly what I was going to do. So, all right, thank you. I will just comment here, everybody's alluded to the fact that I am a Webster grad. I'm just going to go real deep. My mother, my mother-in-law, my husband, and 3 of my 4 siblings and I all went to Webster School. So I do love the place, but that's not why I am behind it. I'm behind it for all of those things on the board. It fits the ARPA guidelines to a T. I'm just thrilled to see it moving, and I wish we could get you $5 million, but $2 million today is what the vote is going to be for. So Commissioner Powell?
I just like how you keep saying 2 million today. Today. So we gonna see their report, and Chair knows, he knows us, me and Gwen, so we watching.
Which, if I could, sorry.
No, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Yes.
Better be 80 and not 84, you know?
Don't matter. It better be 80 and not 100. Yes.
Do that, Kyle?
Just messing with her.
I said put vendors in the hallway. There's always a way around tax stuff.
Are you there, Charlie?
Cavell?
I don't know how, yes.
The other one. Okay, I'll just manually.
Oh,
Mine didn't come out.
oh, did I? What a
Madam
noob.
Chair, you have 8 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So this will go to the full board next week.
And then you can resume file this.
Okay, and let's have a motion to receive and file the packet that they brought today. Commissioner Hoffman, supported by Commissioner Weipert. All in favor of receiving and filing the packet? Say aye. Aye. Opposed?
It is a nice
Packets
school.
received and filed. So, all right. With that, we'll move on to our next item, which is 7C, the Royal Oak 2023 Winter Blast Festival.
I can't open it up if data says.
Who lives in that community?
Moved by Commissioner Weipert, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning, good afternoon, good afternoon.
Chairperson Woodward.
Yeah, no, I was like, I great job in the last item. I think it's a positive step forward, so I want to commend you there. So this is, we have helped support this event that kind of kicked off it's fairly new. A winter festival in the southeast area this coming weekend, as Commissioner Johnson and I think Commissioner Spiz also shared, as Fire and Ice, which is, is a long-standing, it's kind of coming back to life after taking a hiatus the last couple years. That's this coming weekend. This festival is scheduled for the February 3rd through 5th.
Is that Super Bowl weekend?
It's the weekend before.
Might be winter.
It's the weekend before?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, the Fire and Ice.
Different weekend.
All these type of these events, these planning. The organizers and producers of these events have to have contingency. Doesn't look like it's going to be pretty balmy this weekend, but it might be winter come February. 3rd and 5th is the weekend before Super Bowl. It really is. It is a tremendous event. I think some members of the board actually attended it last year. Zip lines, food trailers. A giant winter slide, ice gardens, warming zones, family zones, ski and snowboard. Activities and instructors on half, all free for people to participate. I think the zip line, there's a fee for it because it's a mobile entity. Oakland County will have prominent branding, live music, a host of events. I think it's a really great place-making event, and with bipartisan support, hope you can all support it.
Park.
And it's in the new park.
That'd be Ajay.
And ice skating.
You get to
Just
call
call
it.
the questions.
Because Gwen stepped out.
anyone has any questions.
I'm gonna see if I can beat
I have a question.
You're like,
You
what?
had a question first, Ajay.
Trial by fire.
I just have one quick one. Don't forget your caucus.
Wow.
Thank you. It says, are there any possible funding partners or matching funds available? If so, please explain. Yes, the City of Royal Oak, who hosts the annual festival, will be presented with matching fund grant opportunity.
They are a major sponsor for this event. The cost, the ice skating rink that was built, it was a $500,000 investment, as well as some other entities.
You convinced me.
Okay.
I have one. Just, Dave, since you're so familiar here, where's the best, is it gonna be enough parking?
Parking. I
Yeah.
love parking. Nothing better than a parking conversation in
Yes.
downtown.
Yes.
Parking structure is right there. So Centennial Park, where the festival is, and the surrounding areas, there's a new, fairly new parking structure right across the street next to the library. First 2 hours are free, and then it's like 75 cents an hour after that. So there's no reason, and then on-street parking, but I recommend, I mean, if it's snowing, you want a covered parking space.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cavell, followed by Commissioner Powell.
I think Angie was first.
Oh, okay, Commissioner Powell.
Will there be any space for commissioners to engage in this?
I would
Is
ho-
it
I mean,
a
I really
ribbon
want
cutting?
every
Is it
com-
something for us to kind of go and take our families? I didn't know what that.
So, I mean, well, I mean, I can answer it three ways. Yes, and I will reach out to the organizers. I mean, and not only lift up our sponsorship and like what that looks like, and invite all commissioners to attend. So, from like a PR piece there, I plan to host a reception. I mean, I'm on me for any commissioners that wants to come. I have a little bit of a problem that I have. I mean, for a big portion of it, I have to be out of town. So I'm gonna try to work that around there. I reached out to the executive office. I'm interested in, having an Oakland County's Day. I mean, to really encourage the employees of Oakland County to come and take part, the free ice skating and all things like that. So I would say that those are the three things in motion.
Okay, and this came from out of our commissioner projects, right?
So I think we're using
Special projects.
non-department, in economic development, and talked with, with support of the executive office.
Oh, got it, okay. Thank you.
My skating.
Commissioner Cavell?
Bring your skates.
Oh, I just want to say, because we were talking about parking, since the new parking meters are in there, if you do park on the street, you will be donating some good money to the city of Royal Oak if you don't pay like the moment you park. Just FYI.
No, that's not, no, you.
Well,
if you
I got
leave- if
3
you-
tickets in the last 2
If
months,
you
so I don't know what I'm
leave,
doing
if you
wrong,
leave
but-
without paying, you will
Oh.
pay a ticket, and they will mail you your ticket.
Yeah,
If you-
they definitely know your address.
No
They definitely
Yep.
got you.
Yeah, they will get you.
They-
It takes a picture of your license plate. But
Which I'm more
but
than
if
happy
you
to
are
support,
overtime
but-
at your lot,
Yeah.
you can true up before
Yep.
you leave, and then you pay
Cool.
nothing.
See?
But if you extend by a minute a maximum of a 2-hour spot, because the idea
you
is to
go.
move things,
Yeah.
you will get a ticket.
That's what
because-
I did. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So-
For a minute over?
Yo, the
you're a
camera
minute-
takes a
2
picture
hours.
the
Supposed to be
second
there
it's
2
over.
hours.
Yeah.
And
The thing goes to
So
red
you
and they
could
go.
be running and it took the
Yeah.
picture, running for your
No,
car.
I thought I had it made in the shade, and then I went, oh.
Oh.
I mean, I guess,
I get
I'm
tickets
not
all
responsible
the
for the
time.
parking system, but there's an issue, I mean,
I'm just being funny. It's great.
the reason why that's set up there is to encourage people moving around. There's plenty of parking in the parking structures. If you're someone who, I mean, there's some people who work in some of the shops and they just park right in front of the shop, and that's not ideal.
not good.
It's not good for the shop.
Yeah, right.
So it's to encourage movement through, but I'd be happy to take your concerns to the commissioner, the city commission and the mayor.
Charlie, can I borrow your license plate?
Anybody,
You got it. Yes,
That
yeah.
for all
yeah,
the
I got
Anybody
it
else?
together, yeah.
comments, questions? If not, let's prompt the vote, please. Thanks, Coleman.
Okay, now what's this one?
I wanted to show you something. Charles?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, item 7D, sponsorship of the Fair Housing Center's Tenants' Rights and Responsibilities Council. Moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. This is, wasn't this one,
Steve. Yeah.
Oh, he's there.
oh, Mike Keys?
Steve.
Oh, Steve. Hi, Steve. Sorry. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Okay, Housing Center, Metropolitan Detroit.
Amy Woodruff here, the testing coordinator.
Also, housing stuff is there for housing.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to address you. We're proposing formation of a tenants council serving Oakland County. There's been a great need. There's been, as mentioned in the summary, that over 300 cities, counties, and states have tenant rights and responsibilities council. We've been in existence since 1977. We received over 8,000 complaints of housing discrimination in the same or more when it comes to general landlord-tenant housing related. We've had a number of housing-related questions and concerns that have been raised in Oakland County, and there's just a great lack of understanding and awareness of what the standards are, what the rights and responsibilities are. When I say rights and responsibilities, obviously there's rights that tenants have, there's also responsibilities that tenants have, and people need to be aware of both of those. Also, the way it works now, without any knowledge of that, it's almost like a race to go into court or to file notices to quit and move forward with evictions. And, you know, it doesn't have to reach that. Things can be short, things can be resolved, matters can be addressed. So we have seen, and I kind of put it in the little summary, a couple instances in which tenants on their own form tenants council. With every time that occurred, there was really a backlash from the housing provider. And some of them are just kind of little basic things. There's a apartment complex with some elderly employees. And what they did was they the property management company removed the chairs and couches that were by the door. As a result, if you could please kind of fix that, does that. So what they did is they removed the chairs and couches and everything. Elderly people then had no way, they couldn't stand and wait till they got a ride or a bus pickup and things of that nature. And so they formed a union just to have the couches and chairs restored. Just a simple thing like that, and they faced the reaction going the other way. Not knowing that under Michigan law, if tenants form a council, that's protected activity and they're not to be retaliated against. Other situations are even basic. People have been scammed not knowing they're not dealing with a legitimate landlord or management company or the actual owner of the property. There's instances where people have given their COVID checks, used that, paid it over to someone who has completely scammed them. So there's a lot of opportunities to inform people of their rights. The funding of it, this is not intended to be long-term. It's a one and done situation. After that, once we have it jump-started and going, we believe that we will obtain funds through the state. MSHA is that's one of MSHA's priorities. State priorities is tenants' rights and anti-fraud. It's a concern statewide, not only Oakland County, but that's something the state is very interested in. HUD is concerned as well with that. We also have cash reserves that we can use to fund the project on a continual basis. We also have contributions and other grant opportunities. So there's certainly a great need for it. We're proposing, just to kick it off, is to get out there and have 12 training sessions at large apartment complexes, advertise and promote that at least 30 days in advance, and have these sessions where we can meet with the actual tenants. Our office last year did close to 59 training sessions. Mainly those were with management companies, property management companies, owners, apartment complexes, and so forth. So a lot of our training, we don't get individuals necessarily coming to us. We have to go to them. They just don't. And if we do, it's kind of hit and miss. We don't have the impact that we have. So we need to actually put our boots on the ground in Oakland County, reach the areas where people live. I'm not going to get specific in terms of apartment complexes and that, but there's a great need, and we can, on a number of housing units, give you a large number of housing units that reach, especially once the word gets out. We also develop brochures on dealing with tenants' rights. We will get those distributed as well. They're pretty popular. You get back to tenant rights and responsibilities. MSHA, I put it in a MSHA grant, tenant rights and responsibility. I've done a webinar on that, and that's one that's been fairly popular. I was going up to Pontiac in April dealing with tenants' rights because they have major concerns there. I mean, I'm going into these places doing fair housing training, and people are crying out for training when it comes to tenant rights and responsibility. So the need is really, really critical. I appreciate the opportunity, kind of to kickstart this going. Amy and Paul really have a community outreach that's just them. They have a passion for doing it, and they're willing to hit the ground and get out there and get the word out for it. And I think this is the benefit of it, obviously, is that, you know, it cuts against the foreclosure crisis. It cuts against some of the displacement and eviction rates. It'll help stabilize communities so people won't be, you know, threatened. There's ignorance. I mean, some of it is, for example, on habitability, it starts from the time people even start to think about leasing. They are not aware that, you know, you have to get a checklist before you move in. You have to make sure that the repairs and everything has been done. You have to make sure that there's rental certificates. Probably every city will tell you, Pontiac, you know, we've met with Pontiac officials as well. They're going to tell you that landlords are not, by and large, are not getting property certified with their rental certificates. And so to be educating people on what those rights are to make it how, what process, and they can go online and check to see that a property has been properly registered. Some of it will benefit also people that have Section 8 vouchers, what the HUD addendum is like, what kind of responsibility that is. Or for landlords, discussing with them in terms of why that may be a program that they may find advantageous to participate in. So there's really a great need to have this done. And it's not surprising that so many other cities, counties, and states have had these kinds of councils. The other part, too, is that we will work with the Alliance for Housing and other groups as well. So the intent is not to be the Fair Housing Metropolitan Detroit, doing it all, doing everything. I mean, we need to leverage the other community groups and talk with other community groups on a weekly basis with these kinds of issues. They refer people to us and we refer people to them. So the idea is that to get the word out when it comes to tenants and housing providers, as well as other community groups that they know, there's just not a lot of understanding on this. People do not know, you know, what the do's and don'ts are when it comes to a rental relationship. They just don't. And this will help to kind of bridge the educational gap that we're seeing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let Hoffman go first, because he's a,
Okay.
this is space.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Let's hear you first.
How can a tenant be assured that he's talking to a landlord? Should he call the city? What does he need to do? Because I hate to see people get scammed like that.
A couple of different ways. The first thing, I mean, they can go online. Every state has BS&A. BS&A online, that will list who the taxpayer is. That's one step. Another step is to go online to the Oakland County Register of Deeds. That'll also give you information on who the ownership of the property is. Those are two real good
access to that.
So they're available online, and it will give you that information. Another one, even without having to pay anything, you go to the county treasurer, and you click on pay taxes. You put the, you know, the property in, and it'll show you the current tax status of it. But again, that gives you the taxpayer information. So those are two real quick ways. Another way is, and again, it varies by municipality, but there's, you know, each one is kind of different how they do it. Southfield has their rental certificates are right on their BS&A website. Detroit, I know, has a map where they go by properties and you can locate it that way. But it's hit and miss, so it will vary. For example, it depends on where we're doing the training session. You know, if we're doing it in, I don't know, even Birmingham or whatever, you know, we would go and show people the way you would determine that in Birmingham. And we would have the ordinance which pertains to rental certificates to make sure you're dealing with that. And so once you have the entity, if it turns out if it's an individual, that's one thing, but if it's a company, then you would go to LAURA, the Michigan State website, Labor and Regulatory Affairs, and it will give you information. You get all the corporate filing for corporation available on LAURA. So there's a couple steps that people go through. The other thing they can do, too, if they find that difficult, they can reach out to us directly, and we'll do the legwork for them. We do that in every single complaint or every inquiry that we have. That's our first step in intake, is to determine, you know, who are the people involved in the property. There's a little step, too, when it comes to the management company as well, because there sometimes can be a separation. So I'm not saying it's foolproof, but it's longer than what's occurring right now. I mean, people look whether, the person seems legitimate and they pay over the money or they give a money order and they may not even get anything in writing. Another thing we talk about too, whether you're getting a written lease or not. You got a written lease, right? You're more likely that if there's a fraud occurring, you maybe have someone to go to. The way the laws work, it's kind of flipped the other way at the state level, because if someone is in a property and they haven't really contracted with the proper landlord, they can be the indirect effect is it's made it very, very difficult to tenants who have gotten scammed. So they're kind of being hurt by that law, even though the law wasn't really intended to get them. The law was intended to get the squatters out.
Thank you.
But again, that's something we would discuss as well, the squatter law. I don't put everything in here because it would be extremely lengthy.
Right.
But that needs to be addressed. But that's a very good question.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
So I just wanted to let my colleagues know, I have asked Mr. Steve to come up to Pontiac, and he has addressed our landlords. And what was mind-boggling to me is the history with Section 8, taking those type of tenants. You have landlords who did not know any of their rights. And it was probably 20 landlords there. They did not know what their rights are dealing with those type of tenants, So this space was needed. And when they heard from Steve to understand what their rights were and that they did have rights and they didn't have to, the stigma is out there with Section 8 tenants. And when they found out that they became more aware of all their rights as landlords and dealing with those type of tenants that have the vouchers, it was almost like a weight lifted off their shoulder, because they still wanted to try to rent to these individuals, but the stigma behind it, if we all know, you wouldn't want to rent to them, period. So that was one thing. And then just on the flip side with tenants, it is notorious. Even when I worked at the state, it is mind-boggling how tenants really are shaded of their rights with landlords. So on the flip side of this, you got tenants going in, they are not aware of their rights, they are not getting that proper check off list, they're being moved into these houses in horrible conditions, and then absolutely right, Pontiac is not, for years, maintained their records and certifications and all that stuff. So yes, in Pontiac we have a very unique situation, but this type of information and connection is needed just to educate our citizens just throughout Oakland County, especially with all these rental hikes and all this other stuff, because we have landlords doing what they want to do that I guarantee you in every community, if we really chop down on this, we will find some landlords and some tenants that are just out of place on both sides. And this information will be helpful to kind of massage this and get this back on the right track with home ownership, home renters, everything. But I'm seeing it firsthand. Our city is messed up. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I had one quick thing.
Commissioner Long.
So I just wanted to understand, Steve, you already are with Oakland County, and then you have staff, so it's not going to be like a new department or anything extra. You're just going to act as a tenant council going out in the communities with these source of information for the tenants and the landlords. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then the funding is already like from the state funding, or there's federal funding through HUD. There won't be any additional cost for the county right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right now, the funding we have through MISTA, part of it goes to tenants' rights and responsibilities. So, but that's at the state level, it's general. But have not targeted Oakland County specifically. And we haven't done on-site. Those are webinars. I think really to reach people, especially in the elderly community, people with disabilities, we need to be on-site. That's a real thrust of this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Charles?
I'd like to request, unless Powell and Cavell have a problem, but I'd like to be added to the resolutioners.
I'm sorry, yeah, I thought you were. My bad.
Nope.
All right, duly noted. Okay. If there's no other comments or questions, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent. Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you so
And
much.
that brings us to, that concludes recommendations, brings us to communications. Item 8A, memo on the Michigan High-Speed Internet Office, Michigan Connected Future State Tour. Just in the interest of time, I'll just tell you that some of us saw Patty talk about this in the previous meeting, but Patty went yesterday to a meeting being held by MyHigh, which is the Michigan Office of High-Speed Internet. Thank you. I need lunch, I can tell. My head's getting a little. And what the plans are across the state. Go ahead. We're waiting for you.
We were just at 1.6 billion.
Whoa.
We'll just need a motion to receive and file.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, everyone, and again, to those who I already talked to. So I went to the meeting yesterday. This was put on by the MyHigh office, which is the Michigan Office of High-Speed Internet. It was a listening session, and it was the second of 40 that are going to take place across the 10 priority areas of the state. The next one is in Pontiac tomorrow night at the Bowen Center. And so they're taking input from stakeholders and decision makers and community members, nonprofits, everybody, to get opinions on what are the barriers to equitable service, be it affordability, availability, tech savviness, devices, or something else. So they're collecting all of this information so that they can formulate a plan, which will be a 5-year plan, to use the $1.6 billion that the federal government is giving to Michigan. So that's federal funding coming specifically to Michigan. So it's not spread out among other states as well, it's to Michigan. So it's good to go and kind of, voice your concerns and give your input. If you're not able to go, this isn't your only chance. You can either go to one of the other, 38, 37 meetings, but they will formulate this plan and they will come back out to get your feedback on the actual plan. So if you're not able to provide your input now and guide this plan, you can still have some influence on it. So right now, there's all kinds of acronyms for every program. There's just tons of them, but right now there's grants that communities will be looking at. To 35% of the grants for the Robin program are going to go to middle mile infrastructure, meaning, not establishing the internet, and then the rest of the funding is going to go to last mile, so actually getting the services to either homes or institutions or businesses. And what's coming up is digital equity and bridging the digital divide. And so that's the goal of the MyHigh office, is to get good quality, high-speed internet to everyone, because they feel that raises quality of life. So they are looking at all of those barriers, and you have the chance to provide your input and your thoughts on that. And
Can you have somebody provide that list of when all those sessions are and where, so individual commissioners can go if they want to find out more?
Sure thing.
Since
We'll
there are
send it out
40 of
in
them.
your email. Yeah, we'll send it out in your email, and or you can go to the Michigan High Speed Internet office and online, and if you lose that email or something. And then secondly, we've got a federal grant administered through SEMCOG, and that was discussed at the Tri-County Summit. This was a big portion of the study group from Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb. And we'll be looking to doing a study with merit that accurately reflects the actual service in Oakland County, because previously the providers would give that data and the map would be made, from that viewpoint, but it doesn't always accurately reflect, because they were able to, if there was one house on the street that had internet service, they were able to claim the whole street. So now it's going to be much more detailed, and that way you can have some, input on the decisions. I know Oakland County has like $1 million set aside for broadband, so we can look to make decisions on how to bridge that digital divide.
Okay. Commissioner Cavell?
Wasn't that you and Phil? Both of y'all were like the champions?
Yeah.
Look at the power in this room. Awesome. Way to go.
Yeah, they
it was
headed
one of
it up
those
for the-
things where it was, none of us know anything about this subject, so we're just gonna jump in, which is what we did. So, okay, so I need a motion to receive and file. Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Charles. Please prompt the vote.
Does make it longer being on two in a row.
Yeah.
And sometimes in their parks too.
Madam Chair, you have 8 yeas, or nays?
Motion carries. Thanks very much. That brings us to our second public comment. Is there anybody in the room who would wish to address us at this time? Seeing no one, I will close public comment. Do we have any other business? If not, I will call this meeting adjourned at 12:34.
Nice.